All right, it's been a while, but it's time again. It's time to head north on expedition. Head off to the Alaskan bush for a few weeks and recharge the soul. I know a lot of my subscribers have watched my 2013 series, 3 Weeks Solo. I really appreciate your following it. Hundreds of thousands of views, and it's pretty amazing for a set of videos that were never really intended to be put up on YouTube in the first place. And in this video, I'm going to show you what I'm going to pack to head up. Alright, so I've showed you a lot of how I fix the kayak, how I prepare my kayaks, patch it, even gel coat it, harden up the bottom for dragging around in Alaska. And this is the kayak all stripped down. This is the back deck system that I told you about in some of the other videos if you've seen it. I'll show you how it goes on. That gives me a room to carry a spare paddle and carry some extra gear on the back of the kayak without it rolling off. Alright, first thing I need to pack is dry suit. Pacific Northwest conditions are very cold water and frequent rainstorms. So I got the two-piece Kokatat suit that I did a review on, and Kokatat gave me that a year and a half ago. And spray skirt, life jacket, pretty much what I'm wearing every time I'm on the water up here. This is my sleeping pad and sleeping bag. I'm using a smaller bag. It's a 15C or a 15 degree bag this time. A little bit lighter, packed smaller. I'll show you that while I'm camping. That's the tent that I'm using. It's a little large, two-person tent, but I like to have some room because I spend a lot of time in the tent when I'm trying to get away from the weather. Using the typical Alaska neoprene boot. It's called Extra Tough. Pretty solid instead of booties, but they give me a sole to stand on, and when you're climbing around on the rocks in Alaska, these make a lot more sense than just a rubber kayaking bootie. I've got a camera mount, and I've got another one for a fish finder. Those are the ram mounts. Two paddles, one primary, one backup, two rods this time. I'm not going heavily into the fishing gear. I'm going to travel more distances and do more video, and of course the Alaskan Gaff Club. This stuff, the camping kit, which comes with 35 pounds of food, all packed and freeze dried, but essentially everything else is right there, and I'll unpack that next. Alright, so here are the charts I'm going to use this time, and of course not all of it fits on one chart. This is a chart of the Ketchikan. This is the Prince of Wales Island over here. Doll Island and Long Island. That's Long Island and that's Doll Island. That's my objective. Ketchikan is right there. So this is Gravina Island. Last time, 2013, I came down, worked my way down the Nichols Passage, and then crossed the Chatham or the Clarence Strait near the Dixon entrance. So there's Dixon entrance. Pretty rough area of the world, and really wet rainforest, because down here is New Zealand, Hawaii, and all the subtropic regions, so all moisture that comes up and hits southeast Alaska hits this area first. The entire southern third of Prince of Wales Island, from about this point down, has no roads. The nearest population is Heidelberg, which is a small village of about 500 Native Americans, and that's somewhere up in this region. And then you get way back up to Craig, Alaska, up in that area. Ketchikan is over here. This is Gravina Island. Last time it took me 4 days to go from Ketchikan down to the end of Gravina Island, then cross over the Clarence, which took me 11 hours. That span took me 11 hours, rough conditions. Last time I went, I used paper charts that I downloaded off a chart viewer, NOAA chart viewer, and that's one option. The downside is it's thinner paper, not real clear resolution, so you can't read the depths, and of course no lat long because you're cutting off the edges of the chart. So I'm going with a full chart this time, so I have the lat long scale on the sides. I have more definition, just better resolution all around. So last time I came over and spent 3 weeks just exploring this area. This time, my objective is to come down here, hop across, get around the southern end of Prince of Wales Island, and explore this area, if possible, Long Island and Doll Island out there. So that's it. Yeah, I figure it's Going to be about 4 days of good travel. If I have really excellent weather from Ketchikan to get into this region, should take about 4 days. All right, fishing gear. Now, like I said, previous trips I was highly focused on fishing. This, I just need the basic fishing to survive. I still catch fish. Alaska's full of big fish, which are really easy to catch. And I've kind of refined down what I'm going to bring as to what works. And I don't lose a lot of fishing gear up there, I know, because I know what the bottom's like, that sort of thing. So I've basically broken it down to two sets, and I'm using level wind reels, high quality Shimano stuff. So I got that all packed away, and basically this is the tackle that I'm going to bring. And for a fisherman, this isn't a lot of tackle. So, but if I'm going to do something light, I've got 8-pound tests. I'm heavy, I've got 100-pound leader material, and then everything else in between. Got a lot of 40-pound. I've got spoons, rigged weights, these spinning brad cut plugs. They work pretty good. Plugs like that. And pretty much all I use now up there are these 2.5 to 4 ounce bar jigs. They work really well. They pack really well for a kayak. You can see half a dozen of them. They're all laid together. Here's some hooks, some spoons of various sizes, all the way down to freshwater stuff, and these twitch jigs, which work really well for pink salmon, which pink salmon are always up there. So over the years, I've found that the fish up there aren't really picky. You just got to get a hook in front of them, and you got to be able to hang on when they bite. So real simple, real small kit. I don't know, weighs 1.5 pounds or something like that, but I used to take pounds and pounds of lead, rubber tail jigs, all this stuff. It's really found it's not necessary. You need very little tackle up there to catch a fish. So the principle of the more you know, the less you need. My cooking setup is basically what I had last time. Is a really nice quality pot with a non-stick surface and a lid, and that's really nice for cooking my afternoon meal. It's usually fish and rice, or rice and fish, however you want to think about it. It's a small pot, a little cozy. It's very light. I pour hot water in there, I cover that, and it takes about 15-20 minutes, and the steel cut oats cook inside of there. So that'll be my breakfast system. This is my little kitchen and everything box. There's hygiene soap, which probably will end up living somewhere else. A little survival knife. This little knife I've used many times, and it's perfect situation for cleaning fish, gutting a fish, taking care of everything. And I've tried it, I've used it, it works great. A little weather radio. I get the weather band frequency, which is broadcast all over the coast of Alaska, and that gives me the weather forecast I need. That runs on AAA battery, one AAA battery. It lasts for hours, and I've got spares of that. Some spices, garlic. I love garlic with my fish. Got a couple bottles of oil, different types of oil. Keep that out there. Again, toothpaste, toothbrush. That'd probably be separated out. Spork. Lightweight titanium, a lighter, getting a fire started. This is a stove that fits on top of these propane canisters, or butane canisters, sorry, butane. And I carry 6 of these butanes. Last time I was up there for 3 weeks, went through 4 of them, so I'm gonna have at least 4 of them. I think I went through 4 to 5 of them last time. The other box I have with immediate gear is the GPS. I've got another GPS on my fish finder, but I've got electrical tape, which seems to come in handy as bandages and everything else. Little mini Leatherman, little bait knife for a backup blade, compass for a backup GPS. I can do the dead reckoning. Another pair of scissors. This is important, a pulley for pulling food up into a tree, get away from bear, everything else. Little pair of cut-off pliers that I've taped at the end so I don't cut something with it. Those are good for pulling out fish hooks out of your fingers, or cutting them off and turning them through. Some electrical components, pliers, screwdrivers, that sort of thing. Little emergency light. That's pretty much what I need to get to every day when I need to fish and travel and cook lunch. All right, this is more of the stuff I think about as camping gear. I'd actually use when I get to a location and I'm camping for a longer period of time. Go through some of the emergency stuff first. This is an emergency repair kit. It's got fiberglass. It's got fiberglass cloth in it. It's got resin. It's got hardening gel. It's got a couple sawed-off brushes. I've wrapped it pretty tight. That little pint of resin is all I need to repair most damages to the kayak. I don't need to carry a quart of resin or anything, but I've used it once in about 30 years to repair some damage that got so bad that I couldn't live with it. That always goes with me. This is pretty simple bug stuff. It's just a screen hat and some light gloves and some bug spray. Weighs almost nothing. For water supply, as far as emergency gear too, I'm going to carry a little flare gun just in case I need to call in a boat. I've never had to use this. Staying with the bear theme, here's some cordage. This is tuna cord. It's kind of like 50-50, but I think it's a lot stronger. Ties a lot better knots. And I'm using that to hang my food. There's a smaller cord I'm using for the same system. This is my first aid / medical kit, and I've got everything from crazy glue to glue skin together or parts that break, clippers, antibiotic, ointments, that sort of stuff, bandages, tape. Put myself back together again. More cooking stuff. I'm going to use a MSR stove. I've got the little pocket rocket, and I used to use the pocket rocket and real light tea kettle to boil water. This is a little faster system, and I'll show you how that works out in the field. Essentially, it runs off the same butane canisters, and then this guy stacks on top of it. It boils water really, really fast, which is important because every single morning, the first thing I'm interested in is coffee. And probably when I stop, I'm interested in coffee as well. I go through a lot of coffee out there. So to carry water on this trip, I'm going to try this 96-ounce Nalgene canteen, which is a nice tie-down point. Tie it down to the boat. I find I don't carry much more than about half a gallon or a gallon of water at a time because there's water absolutely everywhere up there. I'll carry a couple of these Nalgene bottles and a collapsible Nalgene canteen system. So, but you don't want to drink right out of the stream even in that region because of Giardia and some other diseases. So I'm taking my MSR filtration system, and I've pumped water. I think I've shown that before. Videos, you certainly see it again. And I'm taking a backup this time. This is a, basically the life straw. That's the suck water through the straw type of thing. But those are my two water filtration systems. This one screws directly onto a Nalgene canteen or a Nalgene bottle like that. So that's why I bring it. And a ground cloth. Sometimes that becomes my bed in certain situations. But I consider that basically what I would use to camp every night, aside from my tent and sleeping bag. All right, so I packed fold the charts up so that I can use them, put them in a double plastic bag. Set those aside. The other thing I wanted to review is camera gear. And you watched my 2013 series, 3 weeks solo. My primary focus on that trip was fishing and exploring some remote lake systems, and I didn't really spend a lot of time on camera gear. In fact, I filmed the whole thing on a $100 point and shoot, and to date I've had 310,000 views on that, a couple thousand subscribers, and again, thank you very much for the subscribers. You motivated me to improve my video skills and my camera gear. What I'm filming on right now is a full HD system. It's a 1080p. It's still a point and shoot with a built-in mic, which a lot of YouTubers might frown on, but it's better than the system I had. And so I use a little case for that. This is my primary camera. I have a backup camera, which is a waterproof Canon, or waterproof Olympus, I should say. And that's also 1080p. And my third camera, which is the best camera in my system, is a 4K video system. Now this didn't even exist, of course, a few years ago, but it's a 4K Lumix with a 30 times zoom, which means it's basically a 720 millimeter zoom. See if I can do this looking at it. So I'm going to give you an example of how this shoots. I've tested it out on some camping trips and stuff like this, and I'm pretty impressed with it. Of course, a point and shoot with a big lens like that means that there's less room for the sensor. And I'll shut that down. And that might be an issue if I had an SLR, a single reflex lens camera. Yeah, I certainly have a much better a lens and a much better processor for the whole thing. But the problem is I can't carry something like that. All this stuff, I have 3 major cameras that fit into this little box here, so it seals up pretty tight. And waterproof, 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 of course. Now, the other issue I have with cameras is charging them. So in here, unfortunately, we have three different chargers for 3 different cameras. A little mini tripod, bag over here, and the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to carry backup, in this case here, backup batteries for each camera and a backup battery stick for my cell phone. This didn't work. So what I came up with is to take a little charger like this, and these are just portable little chargers that can be charged off of your cigarette lighter in your car, for example. Plug that in. I go positive, negative lead, and I can charge it off of a sealed lead acid battery. So here is a little scooter battery, and yeah, it's a drag. It's an 8-pound battery, but it's 14 amp hours, 12 volts, and that should give me the capacity to recharge dozens of times on these. In addition, I have at least 2 or sometimes 3 spare batteries per camera, and those are all fully charged and set aside in here, ready to go. And for filming, I've got SD cards, and I've got some large capacity 64s. I've got 32s and 64s in the cameras already. So, for instance, 64 should give me about 14 hours of video on a 4K system. 1080p, it should give me much more than that. And I should have the capacity to film about 40, I figure at least 40 hours, maybe 45 hours of good quality video. Alright, so clothes, pretty much that's it for a month-long expedition. And this is only this big because I have to go into some pretty cold environment. So I'm using, yeah, a little sun hat, long pants, quick dry pants, I'm using quick dry shorts, on and on. I won't repack all of it, but you know, a couple light t-shirts for traveling and sleeping in, camp towel, that sort of thing. So packing all this stuff is tricky. Some of it needs to be packed outside of a dry bag just so it can fit into the tiny corners of a kayak, and some of it needs a dry bag. I've got a variety of sizes in dry bags. This is just some of them. I've got another 4 or 5 dry bags of various sizes, and some of them are just going to have to be not going to fit inside the boat. They're just going to have to be tied down on top of the deck for a couple days. So I come to the big item, and I'm gone for a month, completely self-contained, and it really comes down to food. So here's what I bring as far as food goes, and this is 35 pounds of packed food. Some of it is dried, sealed, and some of it is not. Again, these are the steel cut oats. They're packed individually and then packed back in the bag that they came in. That's about 5 pounds of oats. I eat those every single morning. And some treats like dates, coffee, lots of coffee. I pack it in smaller packs like this so that I only open what I need and use it up. I end up with a lot of plastic at the end of it, but for instance, this is dried kale from my garden, and if I can, I'll add a little clip in here to show you how I dry it. It packs down really light, really thin, and it's really good sprinkled on fish. A little extra oil, and I run off of almonds, a lot of almonds, a lot of tree nuts. I'm not a fan of peanuts at all, even though I'm not allergic to them, but almonds, pecans, pistachios, that's pretty much my protein source that I eat all the time. More of the kale, more of the coffee, and quinoa. It's a grain. It actually comes from a beetroot type plant. A lot of grains that I eat with my fish, my protein source. I'll just dump this whole thing out, get a better example of it. Some raisins, not a lot. A lot of packs of this rice, not a ton. Probably, enough to last for a few weeks. So this is a nice little chunk of steak that are sealed in here. That's just a protein source if I can't get to fishing, which sometimes I get pinned down on. But granular sea salt I'd use for cooking fish or preserving fish. But my diet's changed a lot from the last time. Last time I brought a lot of dried fruit and a lot of sugary stuff that I could get into eating while I'm going. Changed my diet over the last few years and eliminated sugar. Rarely have a little taste of honey or something like that, and I never put refined sugar into anything, and I avoid products with refined sugar. It's just a health issue for me. In here I have the second pack of food, which is pretty similar to the first, with the exception that it has some packaged tortillas and some packaged cheese in there, and that generally stays pretty good for weeks in a seal a meal pouch like this in the cool environment of Alaska. So food source, all portioned out to a couple days each, or a few days in this case, and that's what I'm running on. So I'll set this video up to upload in a couple weeks or so when I'm up there in Alaska, and when I come back I should be able to start producing some series on what it was like to be there and do my trip. So if this is the last video that I produce, I didn't make it back, but I'll make it back just fine, and we'll see you on the other side.